Plenty going on in Washington, even with President Trump in Vietnam for a summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. NBC 10's Drew Petromo joining us from D.C. with the story of a woman originally from Alabama who left the U.S. to join the terrorist group ISIS, who now wants to return to America. Drew, on what grounds is she trying to make a case to come back? What are our leaders in D.C. saying about this situation?
So this woman is 24-year-old Hoda Mathana. She's from Alabama. She left about 4 years ago to join ISIS. She's been in Syria. She's now in a Syrian refugee camp. She and her lawyers, they say that she's an American citizen and that she should be allowed to come back and face the American justice system. They say that she doesn't want to get out of free jail card, that she's willing to submit herself to the system and even face prison time if that's what a jury decides or a judge decides. There are some split opinions about that here in Washington. The Trump administration says, one, and most importantly, that she is not, in fact, and never has been a U.S. citizen. Her father was a Yemeni diplomat back when she was born in 1994, and the government says that he was still a diplomat and subject to diplomatic immunity protections, and therefore his daughter did not get the automatic citizenship guarantees of the 14th Amendment when she was born. Her lawyers dispute that. They say that his diplomatic service ended about a month before she was born, therefore she is a U.S. citizen and should get all these protections.
We also have former Trump confidant Michael Cohen set to testify before congressional panels this week after a couple of delays. What are we expecting to hear if indeed he finally does testify?
Yeah, Michael Cohen's testimony is certainly expected to be pretty interesting. He's going to be in front of one panel of lawmakers tomorrow, then another on Wednesday, another on Thursday, two of them open to the public. Look, he served as essentially what's been called the fixer for President Trump, who was then an ordinary citizen. And he says that he's going to talk about a few interesting things. Most maybe prominently is the fact that he says the president authorized the payment to two women that he was just a citizen then had an extramarital affair with. So there's obviously that, which is going to make for interesting testimony. And then there's also, he says he's going to talk about the president's businesses and tax situations that have also come under scrutiny here in Washington. So he'll have a lot to talk about. Of course, he has admitted to lying to Congress before, so people that support the president would say that he's not to be believed.
And of course, finally, we have congressional action expected on President Trump's emergency declaration on funding the border wall. Is this primarily just to get it on the record, or do House Democrats think they're going to get anywhere on this?
Well, they are expected to get a good vote in the House on basically rescinding the President Trump's emergency declaration. In the Senate, things are a bit more shaky. Unlike most legislation, you don't need 60 votes in the Senate this time. You're only going to need 50. You'd only need a couple of Republicans to join Democrats in negating that. Either way, even if it does pass the Senate and President Trump is lobbying heavily on senators, Republican senators, urging them not to do this, even if it does, it would likely face a presidential veto, and the chances are really great that they would not have the numbers in the Senate to override a veto.
And of course, we already have at least 3 lawsuits involved in that as well. Drew, thanks for giving us the big picture perspective of what is certain to be a busy week, whether the president's in this country or overseas.
Thanks for having me.